The rebuilding of New Orleans and surrounding areas wasn't guaranteed after Katrina.
Sabrina Wilson talked to two people who were involved in the fight at different levels of government.
New Orleans' recovery is praised 20 years after Hurricane Katrina swamped 80% of the city.
Our delegation led the strongest recovery of any recovery ever in the history of this country. When these numbers are tallied up, according to outside experts, it'll be well in advance of $72 billion that came back to this community, build schools, libraries, hospitals, levees.
If you look at New Orleans today versus before Katrina, let alone right after, we have fixed so many of the things that were broken. Our flood protection system is dramatically improved. Obviously, that's where it all started.
Mary Landrieu was a Louisiana U.S. Senator at the time and fought to get federal recovery funds. Steve Scalise, currently U.S. House Majority Leader, was in the Louisiana legislature.
You know, we had to make a commitment to rebuild the Superdome. That was no easy deal because a lot of people were saying, how can you rebuild a sports facility when people aren't in their homes? So we had some tough votes to make, but frankly, to me, they weren't tough votes.
Now, after Katrina hit, there were some in Congress who said New Orleans and surrounding areas should not be rebuilt. But members of Louisiana's congressional delegation wouldn't stand for that, and they fought to get billions of dollars to rebuild the city as well as to strengthen the levee system.
It was a tough challenge, one of the toughest of my life, and I have to thank our entire congressional delegation.
Yeah, well, so many people in the early days after Katrina were trying to write New Orleans off, say, city's not going to come back, and we had to fight just to reverse that narrative and say, look, we better come up with a plan quick. Ultimately, the Road Home program to say we're going to have an ability for people to rebuild.
The bands are playing in the French Quarter. The Superdome is built. The levees are stronger than ever. And yes, we still have work to do in the lower Ninth Ward. We still have work to do in the retail commercial space in New Orleans East. But that's going to take an extra and concerted effort.
Some current and former FEMA staffers published a letter warning that cuts to FEMA risk a catastrophe like after Katrina. Scalise says FEMA's flaws were evident after Hurricane Katrina.
So either we need to reform it. If there's a better way to do it, let's look. But there will always be a need for a federal response to disasters.
I'm Sabrina Wilson, Fox 8 Local First.
Mary Landrieu also talked about the modern public school buildings that were built after FEMA, providing $1.8 billion. Scalise referenced how citizens were very involved and pushed for the levee boards to be reformed.